Everybody. This is going to be our presentation for the candidates, for people that are interested in becoming a candidate. So let's kick it off here. Today, we're going to start with welcome and introductions, and then we're going to go through some of the responsibilities of the Ethics Commission and the Supervisory Boards of Elections. We're going to do some candidate insights. We're going to talk about some of the responsibilities of candidates in terms of campaign finance, different signage issues, some general do's and don'ts. We're going to talk about the election day and some of the things leading up to that. And then we're going to have an open question and answer session where you can talk with a city council member who's going to be joining us a little bit later, or the boards or the clerk's office. So I will start with who I am. I'm Nate Grunendijk. I'm the Deputy City Clerk. And Laura, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Laura Reams. I'm the City Clerk and Director of Communications. Great to see everybody here tonight, and thank you for joining us.
Hi all, my name is Zach Peters and I currently serve as the chair of the Board of Supervisors of Elections. I've been in this role for less than a year, but I feel like it might have been 2 elections by now. So I've been on the board for a couple of years, have lived in Hyattsville for 6 years, 7 years now. So glad to have you all here. And with me, I know Juan and Aaron are on the call. I know Lisa can't make it. Greta may or may not be on. Greta and Lisa have been on the board for 15, 20 years or so each. And so there's a lot of experience there. But Juan, do you want to say, oh, you're here? Hi, Greta. Greta, do you want to say a couple words? No need. We're here if you need. You can contact us via electionboard@hyattsville.org, and we're always here to help with any questions you might have. And I think the next slide, a little bit about what we as the Board of Elections do. We help to advertise upcoming elections. We do a lot of outreach with existing and potential voters in the city. We work with the clerk's office with Nate and Laura to procure equipment and set up contracts for election day, election materials. We certify candidates for the election. So any of you who actually go through with the certification process, we will work with you alongside Nate and Laura on that. We also are tasked with enforcing campaign rules and requirements. And I know we've got a little bit about that topic later on as well. Even though we conduct vote by mail elections for the most part in the city, we also have and always will have a day of election opportunity for folks. And so we oversee and help administer election day procedures. And then once an election happens, we are in charge of certifying and relaying those results to the city.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Horlick, and I am the current chair of the Ethics Commission. I have been on the commission for, I think this is going into my 3rd year, and I'm joined by my other members this evening. Do you each want to take a minute to introduce yourselves? Carter?
I'm Carter Ross. I've been a Hyattsville resident for, we start my 25th year here this year. So been around for a while. I've been on the Ethics Commission and a few other city committees in that time. And yeah, I'm just happy to help and thank everybody for your interest in running.
David?
Thank you. I'm David Sipp. I'm been a resident of Hyattsville since 2015, and this is also my 3rd year on the Ethics Commission. And thank all of you for joining and being interested. Thank you.
And Mark?
Hi, good evening. I'm Mark Graham, about a 20-year resident of Hyattsville, less than a year on the Ethics Committee, and I want to welcome everyone and thank you for being here.
If anyone has any need to reach the Ethics Commission at some point, we are readily accessible via email, and all you have to do is send a note to ethics@hyattsville.org. And at this, can move on to the next slide. I want to take a minute to discuss the responsibilities of the Ethics Commission and what sort of things fall under our purview. We ensure that all financial disclosure forms are completed in accordance with state law and the Hyattsville City Code, and it is specifically Chapter 10 Ethics. We also work to ensure that campaign finance reports are completed in accordance with Hyattsville City Code Chapter 8 Elections, and we investigate any violations of the Hyattsville City Code Chapter 8 Elections campaign finance.
All right, thank you. We're going to go over a few of the candidate insights now. So the way that our legislative body is set up, we have one mayor with 10 council members, and the mayor is elected at large, which means anybody in the city limits, regardless of ward, votes for the mayor. The mayor is the city's chief executive officer, and they preside over the council meetings. Council members, we have 2 council members for each of the 5 wards, so there's a total of 10 council members. And after the election, the council members appoint a president and vice president of the council. Some key responsibilities of the council members and the mayor is to establish policy and adopt new laws, levy taxes and adopt the budget, award contracts, appoint key city officers, and represent the city at official events. Laura, did you have anything you wanted to add on those 2 slides?
No, I think you covered it well. And of course, if there's questions later, we're happy to address them.
Great. Time commitment. So typically, council meetings are the first and third Monday of each month. And they, as I said, they typically begin at 7 p.m. So that is one of the time commitments that council members and mayors and the mayor would be tasked with. Also, there are committees and community meetings. So each council member and the mayor become committee liaisons, and so they join committees that we have that usually meet in the evenings. Right now, they're virtual, so that is another part of the job of being a council member or mayor. There are also ceremonies and events that often happen in the city where we ask for attendance from elected officials to represent the city. The average hours per month, and this varies from council member to council member and mayor to mayor, but around 40, and depends on the time of year also, but usually around 40 to 60 hours per month for a mayor and about 20 to 40 hours per month for a council member. So now we're going to get into a few of the required forms. For our office, when you are going to register to be a candidate, these are the required forms that you would need to bring. We have a candidate registration form that would need to be filled out. There are a financial disclosure statement. The state of Maryland requires us to provide a summary, to post a summary publicly of your financial disclosure statement. There's a campaign account registration that you need to provide, a certification of contribution threshold for if you believe your campaign is going to have contributions under $1,000, or a campaign account registration form if you expect your campaign to exceed $1,000. And all of these forms are on our website at hyattsville.org, and you can check that out in the election and candidate information section. And now we're going to turn it over to Carter, I believe, to talk about some of the required campaign finance forms.
Right. So as for those of you who have run before or who have paid attention to the past cycles, there's a series of campaign finance reports that are due during the campaign. There's an initial report that's due fairly early in the campaign, April 18th for this cycle. A second one that is very close to Election Day, and it's due on May 2nd. And then a third one that's due after the election to sort of close things out, June 23rd. If you have remaining campaign balances, be it outstanding loans or obligations or unspent contributions, you are required to file an annual report in September. And that's filed every year until the balances reach zero in those accounts. That's something that all current council members who have outstanding campaign accounts or past candidates who have outstanding accounts are required to file annually. I just want to step back one thing. Nate mentioned the financial disclosure form on the prior slide. That's something that is required every campaign cycle, but the state passed a few new obligations and questions that had to be added to it. So if you filled it out before, if you looked at it before, it does look a little different. If there are any questions when you're looking at that, please reach out to us and we're happy to try and clarify for you. So the campaign finance reports, there is a cover sheet and an Excel workbook that's provided to you to be able to try and get all the information that's required in. These also, we try to learn and adjust from every cycle to various pain points or things that were confusing and try to improve them. So you'll notice that the cover sheet and the workbook are a little different this year from prior cycles, but they still consist of 5 schedules where you're recording different bits of information. The first one is monetary contributions. That's any contributions that come to you as a check via a credit card or an electronic payment system like PayPal or Cash App. Anything that's just money is recorded on Schedule A. If somebody provides an in-kind contribution for your campaign, say they purchase food and drinks for a campaign event, or if they pay to have flyers or signs printed up, that gets recorded on Schedule B as an in-kind contribution. And those do require some sort of documentation of the value of what was provided. And there is a campaign contribution limit that anybody who's not either you or a spouse or domestic partner is limited to contributing no more than $500 per campaign cycle. And that includes both monetary contributions and in-kind contributions together. So if somebody donates $200 worth of food for an event, they would be limited to contributing no more than $300 cash as well throughout the election cycle. Schedule C are loans, and this is if you seek an outside loan or if somebody loans you money for the campaign, or if you provide a self-loan. Those are actually pretty common. It's basically a candidate might put in $1,000 of seed money of their own money to start the campaign before they really are soliciting donations, with the expectation, the idea that contributions or donations they receive would then offset that self-loan over the course of the campaign. Schedule D is for your expenditures. So anything where you're outlaying money, and much like in-kind contributions, there have to be receipts provided to show that the amount of that you spent is what is reported. And then Schedule E is a special case. Sometimes people receive contributions that aren't allowable. They come from a business. Somebody maybe contributed from their business account instead of a personal account, or they came from, or they contributed more than that $500 limit. And so there's a need to return some or all of a contribution. That's recorded on Schedule A. Each of these different schedules are reflected on the cover sheet. And so you'll use the information that you record in Schedules A through E to fill out the cover sheet, and each report builds on the other. So the initial report, if you don't have a pre-existing account, would start at $0, and then whatever the amount at the end of that report, after you've put in all of your contributions and your expenses, that becomes your starting balance for your next for your second report, and so on. it can be confusing. It can sometimes, we think that we've cleared it up, and it may have had some additional, may have gotten a little more complicated. Please reach out if you run into any problems while you're trying to fill out any of the forms.
Okay, the next few slides provide a little more information about the schedules that Carter was just talking about. So first of all, on your campaign finance report, there's contributions. Maximum contribution amount per contributor may not exceed $500. Candidates may not accept contributions from anonymous contributors or foreign nationals. And reportable contributions shall include all cash, check, electronic payments, and in-kind donations. Electronic payments such as PayPal and Venmo are acceptable fundraising tools, but partisan websites are not acceptable fundraising tools.
What partisan websites might include something like Act Blue and Go Red. That's what they're typically called, right?
Yes, thank you. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide is expenditures. These are reported on your workbook Schedule D. Reportable expenditures shall include campaign signs, brochures, postage, advertisements, professional services, fees for electronic payments, or any other materials used for the campaign. Each expenditure must be accompanied with a numbered receipt corresponding with the expenditure report, and cash withdrawals are forbidden. Next slide is loans. Your loans are reported on Schedule C in the workbook. Campaigns may receive up to $5,000 in loans to support their campaign. However, those must be clearly disclosed. No one person or entity can loan a candidate more than $1,000, and loans must be repaid within a year of origination. Self-loans, money the candidate or your spouse provides the campaign, and these can be paid back from future campaign contributions, and they're also not subject to the $1,000 limit. Next slide, please. This is talking about the treasurer. A treasurer is required if more than $1,000 will be raised in contributions from individuals other than spouses or domestic partners. The treasurer is responsible for ensuring complete and accurate financial reports. And while a candidate you can act as your own treasurer, we suggest that you appoint a treasurer. It will make your campaign finance reporting process less burdensome. Thank you.
All right, I think this is me. So just going over some of the responsibilities of candidates when it comes to campaign signage and materials. Just wanted to start off by saying, if you ever have any questions about what your campaign material should look like, can you put it here or there or another place, please do feel free to reach out to the Board of Supervisors of Elections, that election board at hyattsville.org. We respond really quickly on that, so happy to provide advice if it feels murky for you. But just to start off, campaign signs are not permitted in public rights of way, so that's often medians and public sidewalks. Also happy to define that a bit further as we get in, but really focusing on putting signs in areas that are the yard with the permission of the owner, of course, but public rights of way we're not allowed to have campaign signs there. And if we do notice that, either as the board or other members who notice that they are in violation, the candidate will be advised and has 24 hours to remove the sign, or the city's code compliance department will remove the signs which we would rather not do because we know good campaign funds are spent on those and can often be, so don't want to have to remove them if we have to. So you have 24 hours to remove that once notified. And then another important thing to note is that campaign materials must include an authority line. And this includes anything having to do with advertising, putting the campaign out there. So that's buttons, signs, flyers, t-shirts, etc. It must contain the candidate and the treasurer's name and title. So we've got an example right here. So even if it's on a little button, by authority of Janice Morrison, candidate for mayor, Jim Joplin, treasurer. So just something simple like that, but it needs to be on all campaign materials. We can go to the next slide. So some other do's and don'ts. So of course, do encourage voter registration and vote by mail, and share that information about how our citizens of Hyattsville can be a part of registering if they're not registered to vote, or how to vote by mail. And then candidates may hand out blank voter registration and vote by mail applications, emphasis being blank there, because then the don't part of that is that candidates are not to handle completed voter registration and vote by mail applications. Candidates or individuals working on behalf of a candidate are not to distribute prepaid envelopes to return vote by mail applications or ballots. Candidates or individuals working on behalf of a candidate are not to handle ballots. And there can be fines up to $1,000 for violations of those. So I think that is it for me. So I'll hand it over to whoever's next.
All right, thank you, Erin. So voter rolls. If you become a candidate, you may want to get a voter roll in terms of finding out addresses of all the registered voters in your ward, or if you're running for mayor in the city, so that you can send out a mailer. And so the way to do that is you can request a county voter roll from the Prince George's County Board of Elections. You can email them there at election@co.pg.md.us, or you can call them by phone. I believe there is a fee associated with that. And in addition to that, we also have a city-only voter roll. You can request that by emailing us here at the clerk's office at cityclerk@hyattsville.org. So this election, as we have mentioned, is a vote by mail election. And so in order for voters to receive their ballot in the mail, they need to be registered by Friday, March 17th. So that is our initial voter registration deadline. And we are going to be mailing ballots out to all registered voters in early April. If somebody does not meet that deadline to register by March 17th, we will still be doing ongoing registering of voters all the way through till election day. So we do have same day registration. That Friday deadline is really just for making sure that the voter will get their ballot in the mail. They will still be able to vote on election day if afterwards. It is just they will not receive the ballot in the mail like everybody else. So on Tuesday, May 9th, that is the big day. That is our election. 8 p.m. is the deadline for all voters to come in, and also the deadline for all ballots for us to receive to be counted. So we shut down all of the ballot boxes at 8 p.m. and we'll have collected all the mail from the post office. 8 p.m. And so at that time, that is when polls close and votes will be tabulated. So as mentioned, the polling election on election day is the city building. So regardless of your ward, where you live in the city, to vote on election day, you will come to the Hyattsville Municipal Building. And as I mentioned before, there is same day voter registration. We will have that ongoing at the polling location. And we will also be supporting voters that have damaged or lost ballots, or if they need special assistance or they want to register on that day. some general information for you as candidates. In the past, we have had local organizations host candidate forums. We have yet to have one scheduled yet, but we are reaching out, and if one does become available, we will make sure that all candidates are informed and able to attend that. The city will also publish an election guide for public distribution. And so this election guide will be a submission of your headshot and a biography. And those will be due Monday, March 13th at 5 p.m. That is after the Monday after candidate registration closes. We have a link up on our website that you will fill out via Google Forms, and that will come to us, and we will use that, what's submitted there, to publish the selection guide and get it out to voters so that they have information going into the election. So you've decided you want to register as a candidate. What do you need to do next? You need to make an appointment with us at the clerk's office sometime between February 7th, which is next Tuesday, and March 10th. And you need to bring the following completed forms: the candidate checklist, a photo ID, candidate registration form, your financial disclosure statements and forms, your campaign account registration, or your certification of contribution threshold. A change of name affidavit, that's optional. That's if you want the name on the ballot to be different than what your legal name is. And just as a note to you, the financial disclosure statement needs to be notarized, but we are notaries here in the clerk's office, so you do not have to go out and pay for a notary to notarize that. We can do that for you when you come into the office. And that's one of the big reasons why you need to make sure that you make an appointment with us to come in and do that. All right, we are a little bit early here. Has Emily joined us?
Let's see. She may have.
Yes. Yeah, I'm in here.
Oh, perfect timing, Emily. All right, so I'd like to introduce Emily Straub. She is Ward 2 council member, and we've asked her here today to just give some insights as to what it's like to be a council member, what it's like to run for council, and then we'll open it up to questions. But Emily, I'm going to give you the floor and let you go ahead and speak.
Sure. Thanks. So I've only been on the council a couple months now, so I can't tell you all of the details about what being a council member is like, but I can tell you a little bit about what it's like to run. So it might seem like a lot, and it can be a lot of work, you know, to reach out to everyone and go to door to door and really listen to what is on people's minds. But it's really, I think it's worth it, even, you know, if you decide in the long term that, you know, that being a council member isn't the thing for you. You get to know your neighbors a whole lot better through the process. So there's a lot about the process that's really, really rewarding. So I would encourage you to, you know, to try it out and go for it. I think overall it's a really positive experience. I know you guys probably just went over a lot of the rules and things like that. And that can seem sort of overwhelming too, but I want to say that the staff is really supportive. So I've always appreciated, you know, all of the reminders and all of the information that they put out, you know, as far as, you know, how we go about running for council. So I think for being on council, I think the thing to remember is, you know, we're impacting the legislation that is going forth that has that can have a really, really positive effect on the people closest to us. And I think part of the job is also sort of being a mediator, because you'll get constituents who call you up, and sometimes you'll get people who actually aren't your constituents calling you up. And so it's really a chance to, you know, to help people through whatever their particular problem might be. So, and I would encourage you to, you know, when you're running, to reach out to the other candidates and get to know them, because one of them might end up being your council person, or you might end up working with them. So I think it's a really great experience to get to know people who are really influential in, you know, making Hyattsville a better place. If anybody had if you have specific questions about what it's like to run, feel free to email me. I'd be happy, or call. I can, take some time out of my day to talk to you if you had questions, specific questions about, what it's like to run, or, some of the strategies or anything that I used. But
Emily, one
yes.
of the questions that we get frequently asked is, how much time you spend on the council as a council member between council meetings, committee meetings, and, work with constituents. Can you talk a little bit about your perspective on that?
Sure. So besides the, there's like a minimum of 2 meetings a month. So, you're devoting a few hours being present at the meeting. There's also a lot of time that's spent before the meeting, a couple hours going over the agenda, making sure that you're, reading what is going to be on the agenda so you understand, because the staff takes a lot of time to put the agenda packets together, and there's a lot of information there. So, reading through that, asking questions if there are questions that you have, when it comes to the packet, and then, doing research, because if we're, looking at something, like a new piece of legislation, you might want to figure out what, neighboring municipalities are doing, right? And what best practices might be if it's an issue that you're not familiar with. And so that takes, there's I would say several hours of prep, a month for the meetings. And then you'll probably serve as a liaison to one of our advisory committees. And so that those committee meetings are usually between an hour and 2 hours a month. And then whatever prep you do for that, obviously you're not a voting member of that committee, but you do want to know what what's coming up on their agenda, so that you can help them through the process, because you act as someone who could illuminate things that are already going on, because they might say, well, we really need this program. And you can say, okay, hey, wait, Hyattsville actually already has that program. So there's, and then, with the phone calls, I think it just kind of depends. Because there are some weeks that I get a couple of calls, and then there are some weeks where I get, no calls from constituents. So I think it sort of depends what's going on. If there's a hot button issue, people want to email or call. So I can't quantify it at this point. I can't say exactly. You could make it as minimal as showing up to the meetings, which I would not advise. Or you can pour a lot of time into it. But you just have to keep in mind that it's not supposed to be a full-time job.
Thank you, Emily. I think that's really helpful information for our potential candidates. I can see if there's anybody in the audience that would like to ask a question now. You can use the raise hand feature if you would like to ask a question, either Councilmember Straub, who's joined us, or if you'd like to ask a question of the Ethics Commission, the Election Board, or the Clerk's Office. We're here for you. Happy to answer any questions that you might have. You can also feel free to put them in the chat if you'd prefer not to speak. Okay, seeing no questions, we're very happy that you all joined us this evening. You are welcome to reach out to any of us, all of us. Please remember, if you decide that you want to move forward in this candidacy process, please reach out to cityclerk@hyattsville.org to schedule an appointment. We're also happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding any of the forms. Team, anything to add before we close? Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight, and we hope to be able to work with you in the near future.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you
everybody.
very much, everyone.
Thanks,
all.
everyone.
Thanks for
Thank you.
joining in.
Everyone.
Bye all.